we've actually used the functions here to take the body content and use the 11 Labs API to convert the body content to an audio summary.
Now I'm sitting here at 3 a.m.
And there you go. But we now have it for every single other language as well, which has translated it into Spanish.
I think you're one of the first who truly got the content operating system. I think you even understand it better, the vision of the content operating system. You understand it even better than Simon and me. You want to explain to the crowd how you think about it?
I think the way that I view Sanity is like it's essentially an incredibly infinitely scalable database with a UI on top that you can do like a lot of really, really special stuff with. A lot of people kind of look at content as just a website, but really like content is just data, and data can be configurations for applications, for systems, for like people stuff in businesses, and that's how I kind of think about the content operating system as a whole in Sanity.
Exactly. So I mean, this spring we launched the Sanity functions, the dashboard, the App SDK, lots of stuff. Partly inspired by the way you were thinking about it. I think a lot of people are still wrapping their heads on it. Why do we need an App SDK? Why don't we just do webhooks? I think that's what you can help us understand today.
Yeah, I think I have a live demo, so hopefully the demo gods will be in my favor. But I think one of the things, we launched a lot of really cool things, right, in May, and hopefully this works. So I think one of the things, and many of you have saw the May release, right, and we talked about the SDK, agent assist functions. I think what I found is a lot of people haven't really seen where they can use it and how it fits together. And I think one of the things that we've got to do as a better job is actually show you how it all hangs together in the content operating system. And so this is an example that's hopefully quite relevant to a lot of you. I'm sure you manage translations or have thought about managing translations, and it's not an easy thing. And so one of the things that we've been sort of looking at is how do we take each of these components and have that kind of end-to-end flow of using the SDK, the agent assistant functions to generate translations and manage even more things. And so what I've done here is actually I haven't. Pete, the customer solution architect in Sanity, built this as a proof of concept. But this is a very, very simple proof of concept of an SDK that shows you all of your untranslated documents, and it shows you which ones are fully translated and which ones you need to then translate. And so content editors can come into this specific view and manage just documents at scale. And we've got batch mode as well, where we can basically turn that on and start translating. And so this is the power of the SDK, right? You can build these isolated applications that let you manage very specific things in that content operations flow. And I'm going to try and do the demo now and see if it works. But what we can do here is we can set the default language, and this will now create the document in English. I've actually used Claude to generate some dark humor on the headless CMSs. So if you ever do want to read what Claude's written about them, they're quite funny. But now we can actually now start creating these translations with AI. And this uses the agent assist in the background, which I can actually show you what that looks like. In the translations piece, we basically just call client agent translate, and this will start running through all of the different articles and start translating them. And you can actually see this live in the studio as it's starting to add the translations for that specific article. And so this is all done SDK and agent actions, and it's starting to translate them and then publish them. But what's fun about this now is, we go back to this chart and we talk about, what would you use functions for? Well, functions have lots of different use cases. We can set up alerts, we can do mutations. What I've done in this situation, everyone loves an audio summary, right? And so in this situation, we've used the functions, and I can show you what that looks like. We've actually used the functions here to take the body content and use the 11 Labs API to convert the body content to an audio summary for each one of the different blog posts. And so if I now go actually to the website, you'll see that we've got my CMS lost its head and so did I, a descent into headless madness. And this has now created the audio summary and attached it onto the document.
Headless CMS would solve all my problems. They lied. Now I'm sitting here at 3 a.m.
And there you go. But we now have it for, we now have it for every single other language as well. This one, which now has actually, which has translated it into Spanish. And so I think the thing that we've kind of realized is we need to be better at kind of linking all of these different pieces together for you, and so you can understand how you can use them. One of the goals over the next kind of few months is like showing you actual kind of real use cases that are very valid to like the businesses that you have today, and start being able to kind of manage translations at scale, have different visualizations for your content, and doing all that through the SDK, which then can be deployed onto the studio super quickly, and then kind of use functions to kind of enhance the content on top of that.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Exactly. Thank you. That's
fantastic.
I feel like the App SDK to build custom workflows is a very powerful API to kind of build these real-time collaborative things. People ask like, why isn't it just in the studio? Like, why is it separate from the studio?
Well, I think like the studio is very, very good for structured content and managing that, and I think we like the very different use cases that we've seen, and there's a couple of businesses that we've seen kind of use the studio in very crazy ways. They've got their own CRM inside the studio. I think like for me, it's like square peg round hole sort of situation where you're trying to push things into the studio when actually really you want an isolated application that's doing something very specific, right? And then like when you think about it, you might want external editors just using one very specific surface to edit things, or like have a content overview, and being able to do that in like separated apps is a much, much easier way of working than having it in the studio where potentially the primitives or like the flexibility is not quite there, and so you're adding things into the studio which were not meant to be there in the first place.
Exactly. Part of the initial vision of Sanity was like we want Sanity to be structured like the organization is thinking, not the other way around. And of course, this is taking it to a new level because now there's a complete blank slate. We just fix all the hard stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it'll be really interesting to see what people end up doing with the SDK, and then like probably sharing it back to Sanity, and then like other people can use what they've actually built and reuse it in other businesses as well, which I think will be really exciting.
I think when people really start to realize what the SDK and the functions can do, you would start seeing Sanity use cases way beyond what you historically would imagine around a CMS. And that's when the content operating system truly comes into play, I think, as an application platform.
Of course.
Exactly.
This is fantastic, David. Welcome to Sanity, and thank you so much for sharing and presenting.
Thank you for having me.